Hi everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today. This is Research with Lorelei number 5. And this is a little video series about brain retraining research and mind-body research. And I think this is my last video. I hope you've enjoyed it. So I put the link to the preceding videos in the video description. And in this little mini series, I go more in depth with the research behind brain retraining and mind-body neuroplasticity programs, etc. And this particular video is about HeartMath, the benefits of laughter, placebo research, and speculation on where research will take us in the future. So this is my fun video. I'm just sort of throwing in a few things that I find really interesting. And my only intention in making these videos is to share my journey and some of the research and trying to give you a broad overview of some of the research that's out there and some of the tools that you might find helpful on your journey. Okay, so as always, take what you find useful and leave the rest. And also, this information is for educational purposes only, and any implementation should be discussed with your own medical team. I'm not a doctor, psychologist, counselor, or brain retraining coach or medical practitioner. So please take the information with you to your own medical team and your own coach and see what you would like to try. Okay? So there's a lot of new findings and exciting research, and I hope that I have presented enough tools to get you excited about how you want to live your life, and hopefully you'll find some tools that will that resonate with you. Now, the first modality that I'm going to talk about is HeartMath. I have talked about HeartMath before in some of my previous videos, and it is a well-researched modality. So it comes in a box like this, and has a little pulse, so you put it on your earlobe. And HeartMath is a well-researched, what they call heart coherence practice, and it's used by physicians, nurses, first responders, and other healthcare practitioners. Is to decrease stress and activate the parasympathetic nervous system rest, heal, digest response. And it has been shown to decrease sick days, decrease job errors, and increase work productivity. And it looks like, so you can attach it onto your smartphone, iPad, computer, and I believe that Kaiser Health in California had a number of their hospitals, their staff using it. So it looks like this. I'm just going to open up my iPad to show you. So you when you're ready, it will show you. I'm going to try and get you to not so much glare, but you see that? It shows you your pulse and your heart rate variability. So, and it'll give you cues on you can set your breathing rate, and it'll show you when you're in the green zone, which is the zone that you want to be in for heart rate variability, and then it has different levels for you to train yourself so that your breathing and your heart rate variability is at the optimal for health. And so heart rate variability in a nutshell is not your pulse, it is the space. So let's say your pulse is 60 beats per minute. So your heart rate is 60 beats per minute. So that means your heart is beating sort of once every second or so. But there's a little bit of variation between, so it could be, let's say, 1.1 second between your heartbeat, or it could be like 0.95 of a second. So the space between your heartbeats can vary, and the goal is to get it as coherent or as stable as possible. And some people really like this because it gives you biofeedback, so you know how you're doing, and you can set it on visualizations, and it's quite handy. And but you don't actually have to have the monitor to do HeartMath. I'll put a link in the video description. And there's lots of sort of tutorials on YouTube, so you can just learn how to do the breathing and the relaxation and the visualizations through YouTube. So, but for some people, they really like to have the monitor and get the sort of instantaneous feedback. And I believe that the physicians and nurses in some of the hospitals, they're given the monitor to wear during their shift, and so they'll be working, and then perhaps something will come up, and they'll just take a few minutes and do HeartMath for a few minutes just to kind of settle themselves down and get some clarity of thought, and sort of bring down the adrenaline response between tricky situations. So just sort of some interesting research. So this one is written by, so this is a nice little article written by Teresa Buchanan. It's in the Dimensions of Critical Care Nursing. And so it's called The Impact of HeartMath, Resiliency Training on Healthcare Providers. And there's a lot of other HeartMath research articles, and you can find them on the HeartMath website. But I'll put sort of my favorites. That's the this one, The Effect of a Biofeedback Stress Management Tool on Physician Stress, a randomized controlled clinical trial. So there's more. There's quite a few more. Actually, there's a lot more research on HeartMath. So I will give you sort of the links to some of those in the video description. So that's HeartMath. And as I was talking about in my previous videos about the 9 principles in brain retraining, one of the principles that I discussed was joy, laughter, re-engaging in joy, laughter yoga, which I've been involved with for many years now. And so there is a lot of research with regards to how therapeutic, how beneficial laughter is for us, for our heart health, for chemicals in the brain, and sort of lots of articles about that. And so I'll put a few articles in the video description for those who are interested. But the sort of the joy and the laughter, it actually helps to sort of balance the neurochemistry and neurotransmitters in our brain, and so it combats anxiety, depression, mood disorders, pain sensitization, which means that we become more sensitive to pain, and the perpetuation of pain, so make pain becoming more chronic. And so what the thought is also is that when we get stuck in this fight, flight, stress, overdrive, the limbic part of our brain, it sort of gives us this sort of negative bias, this negative filter, where we have this negative lens to our life and our perception, and you can literally forget how to laugh. And it's trying to, by making time for laughter or making time for more joyful activities such as music and dancing and art, whatever makes you happy, it helps to right or balance the neurochemicals in your brain, your neurotransmitters, and it helps to get that parasympathetic, relaxed, rest, digest response on. So there's some super interesting articles about laughter. And Dr. William Streen advocated actually the prescription of laughter in the Canadian Family Physician Journal in 2009, because there's so many good health benefits to laughter. He actually thought that it should be prescribed. So I thought that was quite interesting. So I'll put those papers in the video description if anybody wants to look them up. And the next one, the next bunch of articles I wanted to talk about was about the placebo effect. So this is kind of a hodgepodge of stuff, HeartMath, laughter. Now we're talking about the placebo effect. And what is the placebo effect? So the placebo effect is that the power of belief, and that if you believe that a drug or a treatment will help you, that will actually increase its chances that it will. Or if you, and also the opposite is also true, called the nocebo effect, where if you have a belief that a drug or treatment is not helpful and is not safe, then that will also increase its chances that the drug or the treatment will not help you. And I'll put some links in the video description about placebo effect. But many people know it's the classic sugar pill. If if you have 40 people given a treatment and 40 people with treatment as usual, and then 40 people who are given sort of a sugar pill, said, okay, this will help you, that the people that actually take the sugar pill, they actually, a good majority of them actually also get better, depending on what the situation is. So Dr. Kapchuk of the Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center does a lot of research on the placebo effect. He said the placebo effect is much more than positive thinking. It's believing a treatment or procedure will work. And it's about creating a stronger connection between the brain and the body and how they work together. And they found that the placebo effect right now is most effective for pain, insomnia, cancer treatment side effects. But there is more research on the placebo effect that is coming up. And one paper that I really liked that I'm going to actually talk about is by Hansen et al., and it is called Altered Placebo and Drug Labeling Changes the Outcome of Episodic Migraine Attacks. So that's the title of it. And so one group took a migraine drug labeled with the drug's name. Another group took a placebo labeled placebo, and a third group took nothing. And the researchers discovered that for the pain after the migraine, the placebo was 50% as effective as the real drug to reduce pain after a migraine attack. And so that also leads to so many questions. Okay, so the people who took the placebo knew they were taking a placebo, yet 50% of them had reduced pain, and or actually I should say the placebo was 50% as effective as the real drug. So what happened? So I'm wondering if perhaps there's the subconscious belief and sort of the unconscious belief about pills or getting treatment was enough to sort of initiate their own power of healing within the patients. So, and I guess the real trick is how do we harness the placebo effect all the time, and how do we harness our own abilities to heal and to be our own pain relief, etc. So I thought that paper was quite interesting. And this paper I was also excited about. It's called Brain Connectivity Predicts Placebo Response Across Chronic Pain Clinical Trials, and I'll put that in the video description as well. That was published in 2016, and they're trying to identify what goes on in the brain with a placebo effect. And the researchers used functional MRIs, and they scanned the people with chronic pain from knee osteoarthritis. Then everyone was given a placebo, and they had another brain scan, and they noticed that the people who felt pain relief had greater activity in the frontal lobe. So they're sort of trying to narrow down, how to harness the placebo effect so that we don't actually have to take so many drugs. So I thought that was quite neat. That was published in 2016. And the one before about the migraine was published in 2014. And just going to talk about a couple books now that I really enjoy that I thought might be interesting for you guys. The first one is called The Biology of Belief. It looks like this. I just photocopied a few pages from the copy I took up from the library. I read the 10th anniversary edition. It's from Dr. Bruce Lipton. And there was a particular chapter in here that I really liked. It was all about the growing field of biophysics. And many of you may not know what biophysics is. It's a relatively new field. It was actually started in the 1960s by a doctor who actually got kind of laughed at, and nobody believed him. And then it got sort of resurrected in 2000. And it's all about how biological life use the laws of quantum physics in sort of normal, everyday life physiology. And so there's a lot of interest in sort of the how biology and physics merge and produce life. And I think there's quite a few articles. There's Paul Fristic and Goodman in 2000. They did a great study on the laws of quantum physics and how it controls the molecules' movements, and quantum mechanics control the twisting and folding of molecules into complex shapes. And that was done by Weinhold in 2001. And so they're finding that the biophysics, the laws of biophysics is actually very important in life, and like I said, relatively new field, very exciting. So the European Science Foundation in 2011 actually established FarQuest, and that was devoted to creating collaborative efforts for assessing the role of quantum information, particularly in biological systems. And the U.S. Defense Research Agency, DARPA, created a nationwide quantum biology network in 2010. So the exciting proposal, sorry, I don't know how many of you find this interesting, but I do. So the proposal is that all organisms, including humans, communicate and read their environment by evaluating energy fields, as well as the biophysics and the mechanisms of life. So the book and some papers give some examples about how Australian Aborigines can sense water buried deep beneath the sand, and Amazonian shamans can actually communicate with the energies of their medicinal plants. So I think I alluded to in previous videos that there does seem to be a coming together of scientific materialism and spirituality, because there's so much in science that we don't know, and that the things that we used to know are perhaps not as known as before. And, 96% of the universe is dark matter, and we can't even measure it. So, and, debates about what consciousness is. So there's a lot of very interesting research done in the field of biophysics now, and the whole, energy of life, etc. So it's very fascinating. The reason I'm bringing this up, there's a reason, is that there's a couple of interesting articles that I want to pull out. So Chaban, in this article, did this study about nerve cells communicating with other nerve cells, even though they were completely separated from one another. So he developed this chamber. So this was cited in the Biology of Belief book, and so I went and obtained the original research and read through it. And so you see this little double petri dish. So they had nerve cells inside the petri dish and different solutions in the outside of the container. And there's absolutely no communication between the interior of the container and the exterior of the container. So when healthy nerve cells were put inside the container, and healthy cells were put on the outside as well, the cells inside produced a normal calcium signal. But when cancerous cells or dying cells were put around the healthy cells, and remember, there's no physical communication. They can't communicate by chemicals, physical touch. There's an actual plexiglass barrier between the two sets of cells. The healthy cells inside the petri dish somehow knew that they were surrounded by either dying cells or cancerous cells, and they would emit a completely different calcium signal. And so the authors proposed that the nerve cells must be communicating with one another across the barrier using a non-physical, energetic signaling mechanism. So our biology is a lot more complicated than anyone ever thought. And so that it implies that, with the biology of belief and, sending love and light or energy to different parts of your own body or to other people, that there are other forces at work. And so it leads to sort of many questions, but really fascinating. So I was blown away by that study about how we can possibly influence different parts of us by what we're thinking or how we're eating, or and also to other people. If we're sending out good energy, or if they're sending out stressed energy. And there's a lot more research about communities, meditation communities who have lower crime rates because the only factor they can figure out is that the numbers of people who meditate in that community perhaps are influencing the community as a whole. Lots of questions, and so I'll put some links into the video description if anybody's interested in those. And another paper about energy signals between plants. Well, so that one was about nerve cells. This one is about plants. This is Australian researchers. So Love Thy Neighbor facilitation through an alternative signaling modality in plants. So, plant ecologists, I said that right, have long known that neighboring species can have a positive or a negative impact on one another through, competing for resources or through cooperation. fungi and helper cells and stuff like that. But this study showed that this communication can exist outside the normal sort of light, physical touch, and chemical communication. And so these Australian researchers, they planted basil near chili seeds because the gardeners, lore said that, basil helps chili plants germinate. So they planted 3,600 chili plants. And so you can see there. So the basil plant is in the middle and the chili plants around the outside. And again, completely separate containers. There's no physical communication between the basil and the chili plants. And so they planted 3,600 chili plants near basil and 3,600 chili plants not near basil. And the basil enhanced germination rates of the chili plants even when light, chemicals, and physical touch were completely blocked. So somehow the chili seeds and the basil plants could sense each other's presence. And yet no explanation, no mechanism is yet available for how these plants communicate. And so I guess I just wanted to sort of give you sort of a taste of what is coming, because it's very exciting, and isn't it fascinating? And so I guess I'm trying to say is that there's so much we don't know, and about spiritual beliefs, spiritual practices, energy, belief, that I think we need to stay open and embrace sort of new modalities as they come along and as they get more research. So I just thought that all that was so hopeful. And the last book I want to talk about is called Cured, and it's The Life-Changing Science of Spontaneous Healing by Dr. Jeffrey Rediger. And that I thought that was, this book is sort of an interesting look at all the things that we don't know yet and all the things that can help spontaneous healing. So Dr. Rediger is a medical doctor, and he spent 15 years investigating spontaneous healing and miraculous recoveries. And he wrote that book, Cured. And so he didn't treat the miraculous cures like flukes. He used scientific tools and research and traveled around the world to uncover insight on why some people beat the odds and get better, and how we can all sort of maximize our ability to get better. So Dr. Rediger investigates the causes of illness and what environments seem to facilitate healing. So he found sort of 12 commonalities or things that seem to be in common for people who actually miraculously, recovered. They're given sort of, 6 months to live, and then 12 years later they're still fine. So, and his book was really well summarized by Dr. Lisa Rankin. She's also a medical doctor. She has a Lisa Rankin blog, and she wrote up sort of 12 commonalities a Harvard doctor found in health outliers who had radical remissions. And so that's her summary of his book. Really well done. So I'll put the link to that, her blog about his book. Anyway, I just thought it was just really hopeful that there's so much research being done on all the stuff that we don't know. So the 12 commonalities, I'll just read them out. So for those who don't want to go on and read more on our website. So it was activating the relaxation response. That sounds common, hey? Happiness and connection. That's number 2. Happiness and connection. Also familiar. Healing past trauma. Okay, that makes sense. Seeking out master healers. Immune boosters, things that will boost our immune system. Positive belief. Where does that sound familiar? Healing our diet. Reducing inflammation. Healing your identity. So a lot of disidentification with your illness. Refuse to be defined by your illness. Healing your fears of death, and also what she calls burning your boat. So sort of going all in. And so her blog is really well explained, so I'm just going to let you read it yourself if you're interested. And so I'm going to read this part because I really like it. So it says, through research, Dr. Rediger shows that much of our physical reality is created in our minds. Our perception changes our experience, even to the point of changing our physical bodies. And thus the healing of our identity may be our greatest tool to recovery. Isn't that wonderful? So, and this is sort of, coming from so many different people, different researchers that, from the cognitive behavior therapy, mindfulness, the whole mind-body integration model of health, that our physical reality is created in our minds. And so our perception changes our experience, and our perception changes even to the point that our perception changes our physical bodies. And so the healing of our identity here may be our greatest tool to recovery. Isn't that wonderful? I love that. So that's everything I wanted to say, and I hope you enjoyed this last video. I mean, if some groundbreaking research comes along, I might feel the urge to make another one, but I think this is the last one. I just want to say thank you so much for your attention and support in my video series, and I wish you well. And if you feel called to make a small contribution to a charity on my behalf to thank me for my work, that would be so awesome if you could message me and let me know that's been done. Other than that, I wish you all so well on your journeys. I hope that some of my videos have been helpful to give you ideas of research that might inspire you, give you so much hope, and tools that you may find helpful, because it's not a one tool for everyone. We all need a different mix and match of different things to help us on our journey. So I wish you love and peace and joy and laughter. Thanks so much. Bye.